There's a lot to be said about the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, and I know a lot of people like to say nowadays that it's a lot more family friendly than usual. It can be really hard to rebuke these claims, especially when jokes like these are being said.
Do you know how much that bites?
Actually, nothing bites more than having to listen to this dreadful conversation.
Eggman, you bite!
Between scenes like these and the Baldy McNosehair jokes, it doesn't really seem like Sonic gets a break from getting ridiculed for being too family friendly. I do want to acknowledge that sometimes being family friendly is actually a good thing, as it leaves you open to a much broader audience. However, in Sonic the Hedgehog's case, it feels like the stories and also the dialogue hasn't been able to be displayed at such a high value as it used to be. One may even say that it seems like the whole Sonic the Hedgehog franchise is walking on eggshells, just trying to be more broad and allow more people to get invested in the series when not talking about deep topics like what happened to Shadow and Maria on the Space Colony arc. But as you may or may not know, the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise was not always like this. Sometimes these characters would say or even do something that wouldn't exactly be for the eyes and ears of children. What's going on, guys? It's your boy SONICSTA back at it again with another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about a couple times where Sonic the Hedgehog was not so family friendly. For these examples, I'm going to be looking at the franchise as a whole, so it's not going to be just the video games. That said, however, if you do like this kind of content, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more Sonic the Hedgehog videos. But anyway, let's get to the first moment that comes to mind. Let's get the obvious stuff out of the way first, and that of course is Shadow the Hedgehog. Yeah, just look at the box art of this game, you can definitely tell that this is not meant for those who are children. Yes, I am well aware that the current ESRB rating is actually E10 and up, but let me tell you something, it wasn't always going to be this way. This game was initially going to be rated for teens. However, the only reason that Shadow is not rated for teens is because Sega wanted to make it E10 and up, so they had to kind of revamp the game to make it a little bit more broad. Initially, this game was going to be so dark that we were actually going to see Maria die on screen. Not to mention, this game was also going to have blood showcased. This game was going to be super ambitious, and it wanted to do a lot of things that the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise would normally never do. And it wasn't actually going to be rated E10 and up until a couple months before its actual release, so they had to make these rough changes just in a few months. But even with these changes, Sonic and Shadow both actually do end up cursing in the game, and of course Shadow uses a gun and can kill whoever he kind of wants to. And of course, to no one's surprise, this is the highest ESRB rated Sonic game, and also it is probably the most disconnected Sonic game there is to the entire franchise. The only reason I say this is because this game introduced so many tropes that are basically foreign to the Sonic the Hedgehog series. Like, for example, in order to progress further in the story, Shadow actually does have to beat Sonic the Hedgehog in a fight and kill Dr. Eggman. This is really strange and something that would never happen today. This stuff gets even stranger when you realize that they actually used a lot of promotional material for this game, like a statue of Shadow holding a gun to the ground. It's very, very strange. The entire Shadow the Hedgehog game is one that can be pretty much summed up as disconnected, because everything that happens in this game is not going to happen in another Sonic game ever again, nor has it happened before. That said though, it should still be appreciated for what it is. You know, out of everything that this game had to offer, I think the thing that surprised me the most as a kid was hearing Sonic the Hedgehog curse. And while this may have been the first time I heard Sonic do this, it would definitely not be the last. This happened once again in the Sonic X Japanese dub. And it was also one of the first few episodes that the anime had to showcase. But speaking of Sonic X, they actually do something pretty inappropriate on their own. So I'm not even sure if this is actually a deleted scene, but it begins with Deco and Boko running away from Knuckles, and Knuckles begins to chase them into what we know as, something that isn't actually for children. Knuckles is surrounded by women dancing and proceeds to run out, and even questions what they're doing in there in the first place. But before the scene can end here, Deco and Boko do some light dancing with some of these ladies, and end up at Dr. Eggman's place with a whole bunch of kissy marks all over their faces. After doing some further research, I actually can conclude that this is actually a real clip from a real episode, and it is not deleted. It comes from Sonic X episode 47, the Japanese version only. And as I continue to think it over once again, this actually does make a whole lot of sense, because if this actually were to make it into the 4Kids cut of Sonic X, there would be a lot of parents with a lot of issues with 4Kids. Which by default makes a lot more sense, because I only really religiously watched the 4Kids dub of Sonic X, and I never really watched the Japanese version. Had I actually watched the Japanese version in the first place, I probably would have been able to catch this sooner. This also isn't the first time we've seen Knuckles in a similar situation. In the game Sonic Adventure in the original Japanese version, there's an animatronic cowgirl that appears in Casinopolis holding a drink, and if Knuckles got near it, you would hear sounds from it. However, in the international version, which I personally own, this is not there at all, and it's just replaced by your traditional regular casino background. In the grand scheme of things, these things are actually pretty small in comparison to Shadow the Hedgehog. With Shadow being a full-scale game showcasing all sorts of things Sonic would never do in the first place, these scenes are actually just censored just to the general masses, whereas they're still available in Japan. Nonetheless, I still felt the need to somewhat point these out because the fact that they're censored in the first place means that they're kind of grown material and not exactly meant for kids. However, there are some scenes that actually did end up making the cut for international viewing, but still are considered to be a little inappropriate but under the surface. One TV show that clearly comes to mind to me is Sonic Boom. In Season 2, Episode 9 of Sonic Boom called Multi-Tails, there's a particular scene in this episode that I feel like deserves to be talked about a bit more than it already is. Before I get into the scene, allow me to give you a little bit of context. So the episode kind of revolves around Tails splitting himself up, that way he can kind of spread his smartness and come up with all sorts of different inventions the correct way. However, his plan kind of backfires because Tails actually, instead of ends up making multiple clones of himself, he ends up kind of splitting himself down into different kinds of versions of himself. Instead of creating multiple versions of a smart Tails, it just creates different versions of a kind of dumb Tails as it splits the smartness between them. So then we're taken to around the 8-minute mark and we see Eggman in the shower. Tails kind of interrupts and Eggman pretty much asks him for a towel. With Tails being rather stupid, he comes back with a small washcloth, and then Eggman proceeds to get pretty angry, asking what could he possibly cover with that, and then insinuates that Tails is making fun of him. On my first viewing of this episode of Sonic Boom, I did not catch it, but over the course of time watching Sonic Boom again, it was when I realized that this joke was actually intended for an older audience in the first place. Despite what the title says, this is actually one of those times where I feel like Sonic is kind of family friendly here, but it isn't until you're older where you actually catch this kind of joke here. So I think that's kind of the reason why it's not censored, and I don't think it should be. Because at the end of the day, in the whole grand scheme of things, this is a rather small scene. The last thing I want to talk about here actually predates everything I previously talked about in this video, and it actually comes from 1993 from a bulletin board of Staff Room Studio Junio, and it actually has Sonic smoking cigarettes. A mangaka known as Hisashi Yaguchi even said that this is supposed to be a joke and not to be taken seriously in any light. While of course I do see the irony in a popular cartoon character smoking cigarettes, something kids should not be doing, it's still very interesting to see this happen in the first place. And it gets even more ironic when you think about the SONICSTA AM cartoon, where he was pretty much telling Tails that smoking is really bad and you should never do it. And of course, here we have Sonic smoking a cigarette, actually multiple cigarettes. But anyway, those are just a few times where Sonic was just not so family friendly. What's going on, guys? Thank you all so much for sticking around to the end of the video. Now I want to hear from you. What is the time that you can think of where Sonic was not so family friendly? I'd love to see what you guys have to say and to see if you guys have anything different to add than what I previously said in this video. Let me know in the comment section, as always, down below. I would love to check out what you guys have to say. But anyway, I want to move on to thank my legendary channel members. Thank you guys so much for supporting me and my channel and creating the best possible content that I can possibly make. This kind of video would not be possible without you guys, and I praise the Lord every single day for you guys. Thank you all again so very much for being y'all, and I really appreciate it. I say this time and time again, but you guys are truly the best. If you're interested in becoming a member of my channel, there will be a link in the description down below. But if you want to support me through other means, leaving a like, comment, and subscribing definitely go a super long way. But anyway, thank you all again so much for watching. This is SONICSTA signing out. Have a super blessed day, y'all.
Why are you playing that trash?